Hey everybody, welcome to Bird Brain 66 with myself, Andy Teague, and Brian Bretsch on either the left or right, as we always say, because I can never figure out which side we're on when this thing is actually presented. We are here to talk about the Topps Living set, so it doesn't have a particular year on it because it's a never-ending set and has it's supposed to have no end to it, so it's a never-ending checklist of cards. This particular set started out in 2018, part of the Topps on-demand production. And Brian, what's your first thoughts on this particular set?
Well, just like we were talking about right before we got started, it's kind of mirrored right after the 1953 top set. So technically, I guess the third set, we'll debate that one another time, like we did the last show. Is 51 or 52 the first year for Topps? But anyway, don't want to get into all that. But
Paul DeYoung, the first Cardinal in this set at number 18. So there he is.
Yep.
You will see.
I love it. I mean, it's again, it mirrors the 53. I love the really close-up shots of the guys. Like, good stuff. Especially the back of the card again mirrors the 53
Molina,
set.
one of my favorites right here.
Yeah. Just some good all-around stuff. And like you said, I'm happy that it's an ongoing set. So anyway, before I ask your impressions you made a great comment again in just when we were talking briefly before we hit record. We currently have the entire starting lineup now in the living set, correct?
Right. Currently waiting on Tommy Edman to come in. He was just presented last week in the set. We'll just wait for that one to come in, and including one and only Nolan Arenado as well. That was introduced very early in this season. And one particular favorite of mine that always seems to be missing out a lot of top sets is Uncle Charlie himself. For whatever reason, I just checked that the Topps released a Gypsy Queen set with no Wainwright, and that's not the first time that's happened with Gypsy Queen. So not sure what the issue is, but Waino seems to be missing from a few top sets, including the Heritage set last year. So for whatever reason, he can't seem to make it into some of these sets, which makes absolutely no sense to me when you see some of the players that are included in the set. So I'm baffled by that. There's Jed Jerko, of course. That's a very difficult card to get, as a matter of fact. The Jerko, right. Or the Jerko set, the Jerko card. And I don't know if he showed the Hoot, but there he is. He's on there. And as you can see, these are all hand-drawn pictures on these cards. Very cool. Great artwork on all these photo, or I shouldn't say drawings, and great vibrant colors. And the most recent one was a Dylan Carlson that came out prior to Tommy Edman. And just cool looking cards. Great set. Highly recommend it. Easy to get, sort of, unless you have to go back a couple of years to retrieve some of the older ones that are getting harder to obtain. The hard thing about a lot of the Topps on-demand stuff is the print run. Depending upon the player, how many they actually printed based on, they come out for a week and how many were purchased, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. And I found that with a couple of the on-demand sets and trying to track some of those things down. Any other thoughts or comments about this set other than can we please get Topps to put some more Wainwright cards out there, please?
Well, I was just going to say, if you want to get both of our ires up and really see us get into some heated discussion about this, you and I talk until we're blue in the face at times about the lack of Waino cards. We should just make that a whole other segment. Hey, look, here's the 2020 Heritage set. Hey, where is he? All that sort of stuff. But
we'll do a segment called "Where's Waino?"
I like that. Where's Uncle Charlie? But I think "Where's Waino" has actually got a better ring to it. I see what you did there. No, so like we talked about, we got enough to have the entire team, because we talked about Yachty. We got a couple of starting pitchers now, including Waino. We got. I started to show Goldie here. He's there. We got Paul DeYoung. what we just talked about, Tommy Edman being released, the brand new card of him over at third. You just showed Nolan Arenado, and then we've got Bader in the outfield.
KK there.
We've got Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson, who you mentioned. So yeah, no, it's a great set.
I gotta show one of my daughter's favorite players real quick, other than Tyler O'Neill, which is the one and only Harrison Bader. They love watching Bader play, and they came up with their own nickname for him. So they like to call him High School because they remind him of a high school kid just because of his demeanor and the way he looks, and he's always has a lot of fun playing the game. That's what we really like about watching him. So you can tell he really enjoys himself out on the field. So really entertaining player.
Dakota Hudson, who's currently
looking forward to getting him back next year.
Yep.
Can't wait to have him back in the rotation.
So we talked about this too. There really is no rhyme or reason of who they started out with in the first series here. I'll just show mine because I still have it in the plastic sheet. You just showed Bader. There's Paul DeYoung coming over. Here's Jack Flaherty, who's on the IL. We got Jordan Hicks, who's on the IL, and then of course Tyler O'Neill. So that's the first year. 19. There's 6 players, and then you go to last year, and it's only KK and Bob Gibson. So we kind of shake our head as to the rhyme or reason on this. And then Andy, what is your thought on some of the folks that are desperately missing, or you and I are keeping our fingers crossed that these guys should be added to the set?
With the Cardinals, there's a litany of people you could list that that you'd like to see on there. And I know you wrote down a lot of names. There's obvious people, Ozzie Smith, Steve Carlton, but that could be a toss up between him and the Phillies. So, not how that would go. Same with McCarver. There's some guys going back in time, obviously Red Shane Dees. You can keep going back. Dizzy Dean, how far back do they want to go with this thing? And the one thing I like to do, speaking of that, if they're going to go that route, please, sometime, please make a Hall of Fame set, to include all actual people in the Hall of Fame. I think that would be a really cool on-demand set if you're going to do it. Right.
Kind of like, the Cooperstown edition, because that's who I was writing down. You mentioned Shane Dean Slaughter. We just, we're going to, I know he was elected last year, but he'll be enshrined this year. Simba. We got Herzog. You mentioned Dean. We got Lou Brock, Bruce Sutter. So there's some, and here's one that we talked about prior to starting, and he's not enshrined in Cooperstown, but Mike Shannon, his 50th year.
If you're going to mention Shannon, because this is his 50th and last year, I wouldn't mind even seeing some a set of on-demand legendary announcers like Buck, Vin Scully, guys like that have been around for decades doing baseball. Yeah, there's tons of guys that come off the top of your head when you think about.
Yeah.
There's tons of great broadcasters that they could do as well. So just trying to give Top some ideas out there.
Yeah, no kidding. And
also put Wainwright in some sets, please.
Right. So one of our favorite ones, and we can do this coming up. Speaking of Hall of Famers, we should make this definitely one of our really soon shows, and that'll kind of we can kind of lean on Tops a little bit to do that. Remember the '83 Donruss set had those Hall of Famers in there. Yes. It was like, and the Cardinals are like Johnny Mize. I know Stan the Man is in there, and I'm trying to remember who the other one is. I don't know if it's Shane Deans or Slaughter, but there's only 3, and at the time they obviously didn't have everybody in there, but it was quite a great set.
I think it's been one of the downfalls with any the card releases as far as the Hall of Fame sets are concerned, because they never include all the people that are in the Hall of Fame. So I think that's a real travesty, that they don't do that, because there's a lot of great people that people don't even think about, or probably even know are in the Hall of Fame, not just from the Cardinals, but from teams throughout baseball history. So. And there's more people in there besides players as well, umpires and, broadcasters and things of that nature. So I think they could do a really cool set if they took a look at that.
definitely. And then, and you and I have talked about this before in the past. Tops, I think their base set over the last, since like 16, 17 to present has been very, very boring. It's very pedestrian in terms of its look. There's really no really big changes. It's kind of just has that same look and feel. While I'm knocking Tops for that, I do give them the major, major kudos because this living set is just totally, totally awesome. So what the base set lacks, this set by far and away is, I mean, again, kudos to them.
Yes.
I love it. I'm glad that it's an ongoing set. You and I will stump hard for our idea of maybe make a living set of the Hall of Famers, make it a subset, or just add them to them.
But in saying that, Topps has done some really cool stuff on demand. So this is not part of this set, but more stuff like this because you can't get cooler than that. I mean, look at. I mean, come on, that's a cool card. I would like to see him go with, and the reason I point that out is because I like the border. I like to see him go back to some borders on the cards, in the future. That's the only reason I put that particular card up there. Because it gives the cards a little bit of personality and a lot of good, have a lot of color in it too. So I enjoy that when they do those type of things. They've done that in the past.
And I think I love this one. This is definitely my favorite out of the entire living set so far. Just great concentration on Yachty. It looks like he's probably just thrown somebody out at second base trying to. I love that. So there's really, again, no action shots in here. You showed the Bader card earlier. I love that. And even the guys, the close-ups. I mean, great shot. You showed this one earlier. I got it in another plastic sleeve. That's why there's a little bit of reflection. So all of that. And then the only oddball one in the entire set, and you talked about it earlier because it's so difficult, but Jed Jerkel's probably the only one that actually doesn't really look like he's smiling or enjoying himself. But I mean, everything else in the set is really great, candid shots.
Yep.
That's why I really particularly like this set. So, the sky's the limit on who they could net.
So hopefully they keep this going. Great idea, cool set. So hopefully they keep it up. And also seeing them do some dual players on a card too, in this living set, if they could possibly pull that off as well.
Yeah, that would be really neat. And then the other thing I was going to ask you, just off the top of your head, I'm just thinking about in terms of current players, since obviously they're leaning more toward current players than they are Hall of Famers right now. But who would you like to see? Who outside of Tommy Edman, who's going to be added? I'm thinking that I'd like to see Sosa maybe added to it, or Giovanni Gallegos, or I know who probably is coming up next because he's had such a great.
You're going to say season. Reyes, right?
That just seems like that's a natural fit to come, as the next iteration of this living set. But yeah, and again, I don't know if I know I talked about this at the outset, but I don't know if you can see it or not. The other thing I would like really about the card itself is I like the autograph.
Yeah, because again, that's really cool.
And they got the little dugout quiz, so really easy and clean back with all the stats. So yeah, again, I give the Topps living set an A+, and I don't usually do that. I mean, we've never given letter grades, but if we were, I mean, this would be the first one that I would say in the newer stuff that would get an A+. The older stuff, just near and dear, would give a higher ranking. So outside of this, and before we wrap up, you were mentioning earlier from the Topps Now series, what are Topps on Demand? What else do you like from that current run of some of the new stuff?
I've got like the Throwback Thursday stuff, and also the Turn Back the Clock. Those are. I was surprised that they came back with Turn Back the Clock again this year. But that's still ongoing as well. But it's a cool set. It's got the wood grain border. Mirrors the '87 set. So it's a cool looking set. It's one of those things you wonder who's picking or why they're picking certain moments or certain players, because then you're thinking, well, why didn't they come up with this, or why didn't they, they forgot about this, or who knows? It's like everything in sports. It's always great for argument.
Right, exactly. Well, in fact, I do like the interesting stats. I mean, they did the Tony La Russa one with what was it, 2,000 games in both. What was that? Or was
Yep.
it not 2,000 or 5,000? I'm trying to remember what it was. Anyway, so I mean, my point is that they're running stats with interesting things. My thought would be it would be great to see Gary Templeton in there to be the first switch hitter to have 100 hits from both sides of the plate. So
True. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Just thinking out loud, hoping that maybe one day they'll listen to what we're saying and take some of our suggestions. But
Yeah.
got to do a little bit better than that. So any closing thoughts from you on this set other than, I mean,
Not really. We think we covered it pretty well. I think it's a great set for a new collector to go out there and look at too. Because it's not a huge amount of players to go out and track down, regardless of what team you happen to follow. So, and like you said, there was 19 currently for this concluding Ed. Is that what you said earlier?
I think I didn't say a number, but that sounds about right.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Edmund would be 4, 2 from last year, 5.
I don't want to test my math skills at this particular moment.
Yes, 16 or 17, including
somewhere around there. Yeah.
So,
But yeah, once again, great set. They said probably A+ on this set for sure.
very good. Yeah, Yep. So with that, hey, I wanted to tell everybody thanks again for watching us. Just again, want to let everybody know our Twitter handle continues to become very engaging with former players. We just had Preston Wilson chime in a couple of times on some things. Ricky Horton has chimed in a couple of times. So definitely give us a check out and follow us at our at BirdBrain66 Twitter handle, BirdBrain66 on Facebook, and Andy does a great job of doing all the editing and tweaks for our BirdBrain66 YouTube channel, which we're also starting to grow and gather more subscribers as well. So on that note, hey, Brian Bretsch, he's Andy Teague. Thanks for joining us.
Peace. Thanks.